Hello all, welcome to another endgame study of the series Solving Harder Studies to Improve Chess Calculation series. This one was composed by the very strong chess composer from Russia, Nikolaj Ryabinin. He is very strong. He doesn't produce a lot of endgame studies, but the ones he does are very high quality and they are considered to be very deep and very good for calculation. So I also agree. This one is a very good example. So don't expect it to be easy, but do expect to extract lots of enjoyment from the solution. As always, I suggest you watch the guide for the series if you haven't. And the countdown will start. This will be the main countdown, so 10 minutes, and I catch you back after with the start of the solution. And here we are. And of course, let's analyze the solution. I won't start just by saying the first right move. Let's say we want to win. And of course, we are playing against a knight and 2 pawns. So if one exchanges the knight and grabs the 2 pawns, we are going to win with a knight and a bishop. So that's easy to understand. Then what we see else is the king can't move. So at the moment, the king is blocked. So if black sacrifices, for example, the knight, then we are not going to be able to win because it will be a draw by stalemate. And another feature we can see on the position, besides our knight on f8 is too far away from the action at the moment, is that the enemy knight is attacking our bishop. So, of course, the first move needs to be the bishop getting away from the diagonal. And here starts the difficulty of the solution. So normally, and the problems you face are the same for me and for stronger grandmasters. Don't worry. So everyone needs to calculate, and it's very hard when at the first move you have a lot of choice immediately. So the best way for me, and probably a good suggestion for you, is don't worry about exactly where you are going to play the bishop. So just start calculating by moving the bishop away to one of these potential four squares, and then keep calculating. Because after a while, what you need to do is to just come back and adjust the bishop according to what's happening on the position. Of course, this one is very, very hard. Why? Because you are almost understanding the place of the bishop probably almost in the last move from black. So it's really hard. So don't worry if you haven't reached it until the end, because that's why we are practicing for calculation and not just to win a solving competition. So over here, of course, we need to move the bishop, and there's just one move. And so I'm going to spoil the surprise, but the explanation will just happen on the end of the solution. So the right first brilliant move is bishop h6. Congratulations if you have found that this is the only good move for white to win. Of course, now it's black to play. And of course, what can black do besides bringing the knight out? So over here, we need to, of course, bring our other knight. So let's go with the knight to e6. Why to e6? Because if you notice, both this position and this one, if not protected by the pawn, are going to deliver checkmate. So the closer the knight is to, for example, come over here, the closer we are to checkmate the black. And of course, black needs to be active because the king can't move, only the knight can move, and the knight needs to do something. Otherwise, we are going to be able to reach the aim of delivering checkmate. So the best move for black is to go to a4. Of course, over here, there are not many options. I'm not going to stop over here because we can see simply that if we go, for example, knight d3, then the king moves away. And how can we progress anymore? Well, if you not paying attention from here, you can even lose the game. Why? Because, for example, if you bring the other knight, well, black can simply promote the pawn. You need to sacrifice one knight. And of course, black could take the knight and we get a draw again because, of course, if you could take the knight, then we can take the pawn, and so it's a draw. But the problem is, over here, if black is paying attention, it can play for the win with b2. And there's no way you are going to stop the pawns. Let's say, for example, you bring the knight, and then the promotion is unavoidable. And so we are playing against a queen and a knight, so we are losing over here. So when we reach this situation, we even need to play for a draw, and we need to find things like knight f2 check, then the king moves away, and now we bring the other knight, and now we are still having to fight against the other pawn. Of course, we are good to work on that. Notice that if the pawn advances, we can simply bring the bishop and then sacrifice the bishop for the pawn. Don't forget, here we are already playing for a draw, and so over here now we are controlling the promotion of the pawn, so it's a draw. So we don't have many choice over here. So knight a4, and we are forced to accept. Of course, from accepting, now it's black to play. There are simply just one good move, which is to get out with the king. Of course, if we move with the pawn, so the only thing we need to pay attention is please don't take the pawn, because it will be a draw by stalemate as the king can't move. So don't do that. I forget the two question marks over there, but it's a blunder, of course. And so the other way to win this one is, of course, bringing the knight over to c3. So the pawn needs to promote, for example, for a queen. We take the queen, and now the king can move. And so we are playing again against just the pawn. So we have this simple fork, check, the king moves, and I can even sacrifice. And when the king takes, I am going to play a winning end game with bishop and knight versus king. Another chance to practice that. But if I even want to play smart, I can even play something like bring the other knight, so I am now threatening to take the pawn and not losing the piece. As you can see, three pieces, I think it's easier. So, okay, let's go back. So the king moves away instead of advancing the pawn, of course. And now I need to check it. And notice that the king can't come back. If it comes back, I just bring the other knight. So black has the pawn to go to b2, and I am able to checkmate. So this is not an option for black. So black goes to c2. I take the pawn, so otherwise the pawn promotes with check, so or the king takes the knight and then promotes the pawn. So I take the pawn. Now black's two moves, and of course there's only one good move to keep the challenge alive, which is to advance the pawn. So now we are facing the promotion of the pawn from black, and how can we stop it? Of course, I could more or less give you here an opportunity to also think about this position, but I still think it's not the moment. So we are able to reach here with more or less effort because the moves are a bit logical. And of course, here I need to do something, and the most active to do is to check the king. So I can try with one or another knight. Let's start with the wrong one. Here, the king just approached my knight, so the promotion comes next. How can I stop the promotion? I won't be able to promote. Here, I can take the knight, but I don't even need to take the knight. I just go to c4, and now I am able to promote to a queen. And the best I have over here is a draw, because, of course, the queen is equivalent to the three light pieces. So this is not the right move. So, of course, we need to bring the other knight. The king moves not to d1, because if it goes to d1, then I am able to check the king. Notice that the king is very limited, so needs to go to d1, and now I can checkmate it. Notice how beautiful it is. He is not surrounded by any piece, but it's checkmate. So the king comes to d3. And here is the position where I'm going to stop. You are going to have another minute, and then I come back to the final solution. Yeah, it's not easy to reach here because this is so deep already, and we still haven't found how to finish this one. And the only right way to win from here is to play the very difficult knight b5. Brilliant move. Why? Because only this one is able to stop the pawn from promoting with advantage for black. Because what happens now? Well, the pawn promotes, of course, for a queen. Now I am able to check the king while I block the black check. Okay, notice that the bishop is protecting the knight. So the king moves away. Let's say the king goes to e4. If it's the same, if it goes to c4, then I have a fork over here. If it goes to c2, then I have a fork over here. So I will grab the queen and keep my knight. And so now the fork, the king goes to f5, and now I take the queen, and of course this is a win. But notice how we start to understand the position of the bishop from the beginning, because when the king starts climbing, okay, as you can see over here, it doesn't reach the bishop. Now let's go for the very first start of the end game solution. When we stop with the bishop directly over there, let's go, just because these two are a bit the same, let's go to this one, probably thinking, okay, I don't know if I will have a variation where I want to use the h4 e1 diagonal or something like that. Let's see what happens. Well, the same goes. The knight comes to c3. I bring the knight to e6. Knight a4 sacrificing. Of course, I need to accept. And now the king gets out. Of course, the king gets out. I need to check it, grab the pawn. Otherwise, it will promote. And from here, the pawn advances. I bring the other knight, check. The king goes again to d3. Now you already know the best move. It's knight b5. Of course, now I promote the queen. I block it with the knight with check. But now the king moves to e4. And when I suffer the fork from black perspective, the king approaches the bishop, and now the knight takes the queen, but now I take the bishop. And as everyone knows, two knights can't mate alone. So in the end, let me go here to the finish line. In the end, we just were able to solve the problem of the first move because we reach over here. It's very hard, but nevertheless, I hope you have made a good practice over here. Notice that black could, for example, oh, I am a bit lost now. Okay, I'm over here. Black is a bit lost also if it plays with a knight, because we keep two knights and a bishop, so we just need to exchange one knight for another. Let's say we play king f2, and this is also winning for white. So the beautiful part of the study is to on the very last move we discover the brilliant first one. Hope you have enjoyed, and as always, I hope to see you in future videos. Bye bye.